guys, what's up? I am here to give you guys an update, and it's been, well, about another week of my life. Well, first, before I get to the dating update, I'm going to give you guys the goods on everything else that's happening in my life. So make sure to like and subscribe for more updates. Hopefully I have more positive updates. Let's talk about fitness and nutrition really quick. This weekend I jumped on a scale, and I know that my eating hasn't been on point, and definitely since January. I think January was the catalyst for me to be lackluster with everything in life. Not eating well. Like, my workouts are always really consistent, and so at least Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm doing some type of physical activity. And recently, in the past couple of weeks, I've been out on the weekends, been doing a lot of walking, and so that's been really positive. However, my nutrition hasn't been the greatest. And so based off of where I was like down to 149 at the end of December of last year. January hit, my weight ticked up maybe about 5 pounds. And it's just like July, my weight has gone up at least almost 8 pounds. It's like ridiculous. People just don't believe me when I say this, but I track my weight every day and I'm just seeing it climb. So I have to lock it down. So I had one more kind of talk to myself last night, and it's really hard to manage, especially when you're dating somebody or going out with people. You go out, you eat, right? But it's not always the healthiest, or it's harder to make healthier choices when you go out. So today I'm back on it. I had my last hurrah yesterday, and I'm a little bit bloaty and puffy, but I had my kombucha today, getting my digestion going and taking some supplements. And I had a chicken salad today, chicken Caesar salad that I made at home. And then I'm gonna finish up my sourdough bread that I have left. And then I'm dropping gluten again, like I used to. I'm gonna finish all that up, get completely off dairy, get off gluten. I just do better when I just don't eat it. It's just like a slippery slope for me to have dairy in my diet and give myself permission to have certain things, because I just take it to the next level. And Starbucks is another thing that I can't have, that I knew I shouldn't have had. Even just having a drink, it's just a temptation to eat sweets on top of that. So I've been like pretty consistently over the past month going to Starbucks, and so I need to knock that out, stop being lazy, and actually eat what I prepare at home. So I'm actually pretty upset with myself, so enough's enough. So I got to get my life together, and hopefully having more active time on the weekends will be a really big help for everything. Also drinking water. I've been doing really good on that. Really loving having really cold, icy water, which is very unusual for me. Just continuing my walks Monday through Friday, do like a 20-minute walk in the evening. And I really need to get back into doing my workouts on Tuesday. I would normally do about like 20 to 30 minutes of cardio, and I was doing a rower. Another thing that happened this past week was on last Wednesday, I ended up pulling something in my back, and then of course my lats got aggravated, and I had a bunch of knots and areas in my back and lower back, and so that was another issue. So I kept working out. I broke down, went to the chiropractor, and I was in pain for most of Thursday. And Friday got adjusted, iced my back, and I've been good ever since. So just took it easy on Thursday at yoga, and we took it pretty easy on Friday, kind of, sort of. But the weekend has been good. My back's felt great. I haven't had any problems. Knock on wood. Okay, guys. So I know you guys are dying to know about this update. It's like, I don't know. Y'all want to hear about like my dating life and whatever, but like some people do. Like, it's so weird that one of my most popular videos is about me dating, which is so crazy. And last week was definitely a roller coaster. I have gone on several dates with one guy in particular, and we were having a really good time until last Thursday. And Thursday we had, I don't even want to call it like an argument. I don't want to say disagreement. I would say that I'm not going to blame it all on him, but I think we were both being really edgy with our conversation. And with edgy, I mean that it was like he was in an irritated mood. I wasn't feeling his tone, and it made me mad. And he was just going on and on about things that really didn't matter and weren't like a big deal. And I was like, what is going on with you? I just wasn't making sense. And so basically last Thursday, I was like, I'm done with this guy. I'm over it. Like, we really haven't had any problems up until like last Thursday. And so I was like, what is going on? I was like, what are you talking about? What is going on in your world? Like, I'm not like, this is not making sense. Like, we had a good conversation last night. It all started with, I asked him a question and he said he needed time to think about it. And so what I've learned just in the little bit of time that we have gone out is that he is very literal and he is very analytical and can get really hyper focused, and I can understand a hyper focused. And so we just had a really not great conversation, and we were both running to and from places, and I just basically just was like, I don't like your tone, and maybe we could talk about this at another time, but I'm just not feeling this. And so I hung up and I was like, oh my God, what was that? It was so weird. I was really pissed. And I was like, you know what? I don't even want to deal with this. Just one moment is enough for me. I've already had bad moments where guys are like way overly sensitive and they just go off the handle and they either ghost you or they're upset, and it's like, and they don't really like, they're not making sense, and I'm like really not getting it. So I didn't even want to deal with that. I was like, you know what? I'm going to just be proactive and I'm just going to let him know that I'm done. So I did. And I wrote him a quick short email because he was going into a meeting. And I just was like, you know what? I was going to wait for you to call, but I changed. I'm just like, I just don't think that this is going to work. Our communication today was just not vibing. And I need someone who's going to be able to like listen to what I'm saying and not misinterpret what I'm trying to say. Just, you know what I'm saying? So I sent the email, and then less than 20 minutes later, I get a call, and I was like, oh no, this is a response to the email. So I let it go to voicemail. He emails me back, and I'm sure he has no problem with me sharing this. And if he does, we'll talk about it. But I just sent the email, went ahead and was like, I'm done. I'm over it. I'm just exhausted. I made peace with myself. And I was like, fine. I went for a walk. And then he called and I was like, you know what? I'm letting this go to voicemail. And then he left a voicemail and he was calling to apologize. And so he wanted to talk to me, and he was like, I just want to talk to you about like our conversation, and I'm really sorry. He texted me, and then he called me because I didn't respond to his text. And then he called me, and then evidently he saw the email. And because when I'm done with people, I'm done with them. So he's really, really awesome about scheduling dates, and literally will say, I'm putting it on my calendar and I will send it to you so it's on your Google Calendar. And I love that so much. And so of course, he evidently got the alert that I canceled all of our dates that we had scheduled for the weekend. So then he called, he apologized, and he's like, I know you're upset and I know you're done with me, but if you could at least like call me back and maybe we could talk about this. And I just really apologize. And I want to tell you what's going on. I was mad the rest of the night, and I didn't respond to him until I think almost midnight. He messaged me after that and left me another text message like around 10:30. And he was like, I just came home from an event and I'm just letting you know, like, if you still want to talk, I would really be so happy. But if you don't, I understand. And I'm really sorry. I thought about it, and I went against what I was like so ready to be done. And I was like, I'm fine. And I'd rather be by myself than to, deal with this. And I just blew up. Right. And I was just like done. And then I just had all these different like thoughts about in relationships, and I don't know where I heard this from. Maybe I just been watching a lot of like Love Island on TLC and like 90 Day Fiance and stuff, and when they go off and they go on a retreat, so the couples retreats, and it's like one thing that I really desire is to have a partner who I can talk through challenging things with, and that if we have a problem or that we get upset with each other, we can literally sit down and talk about it. And when something upsets you, like, or me, like, I want to talk about it, address it, and fix it. I don't want it to linger. And so I was like, okay, I am willing to talk to you, but not tonight. And I I'm okay with talking tomorrow, like once I get some sleep and I have some time to think about it. And we talked about like our different styles, like when we get upset. And I told him immediately, I said, when I get pissed off, I go radio silent. That's what I do. So you have to give me space when I ask you for space. And so he was like, okay, that's fine. And then he was like, can I call you at 7:00? So I was like, yeah, you can call me at 7:00 tomorrow. So I spent the whole day like super pissed off on Friday. It just like was just bothering me the whole day. Like I just couldn't understand it. And when we talked at 7:00, we had such a good conversation, and he was super receptive to everything that I was saying and helping him kind of like understand what I was feeling. And he brought up a lot of stuff about him and some of his triggers of the day and how he deals with stress. And he apologized for everything that happened and stuff. So I felt like we had like a really good, like hours long, really mature conversation where we listened to each other, like we didn't cut each other off. And I talked about like what I needed, what I was looking for in a person. And, he told me like, this is what I have a hard time with. This is what I'm working on. This is like the self-work I'm working on. And this is what I'm noticing. And, I shared something with him that I said, this is what I notice is that like after like you're done with work or you're rushing off to like another meeting that you go to, that you're really like, you seem stressed. You seem like frazzled. And I said, I'm just thinking that maybe you need a buffer in between like all these activities. And when you rush from here to there, that you're just amped up and it's a lot for me. And he had a stressful day on Thursday. And so basically said, look, if you're going to be stressed out in that manner, please don't take it out on me. Like, just don't even call me. You don't have to call me during those moments. I said, if you're feeling rushed and you're feeling overwhelmed, like we can talk later. Like I don't want you to feel like you have to like pencil me in and talk to me in between times to make sure that we connect. Like it's totally fine. I said, we can connect at a later time. I said, if you want to just text me and just, or just tell me these are the days things are crazy for me and that you're not going to really hear from me, or I can call you later on in the evening and things like that. And so we talked about that and, we kind of pinpointed certain days and he's like, well, I'm usually not done. It's like a full day of this. I'm not really not done until 11:00. And I'm just like, well, I really need to be winding down to go to sleep at 11:00. So that's not going to work for me. But we just had like a really, really good conversation. And then he asked me out again and he's like, so are we good? Like, can we go out tomorrow? And I was like, we'll see. We'll go out tomorrow. And then he's like, what about Sunday? And I said, well, based off of what happens on Saturday, if we have a really good day, we'll talk about that tomorrow. We'll see if we do Sunday. So I felt really good after our conversation. And then Saturday, we ended up meeting at a local botanical garden and we had already planned that we were going to go for a walk and just check it out. I've never been there. And so he drove up to come spend some time with me. And, we did our like makeup hug and all that sort of thing. And what I said was that we're starting fresh. I said, we're starting fresh again. And, we're talking through some things and, we both really don't know each other well. We don't know enough about each other's past yet and what each other's triggers are. So we're still working on that. And this is what we said that we're willing to do to make sure that we communicate and we're able to work together and see what happens. So I believe that this was I think it's date 6 and 7. So we've been on 6 or 7 dates now. So we had such an amazing day on Saturday. And all we did was walk around the botanical gardens and talk. And it just was so nice. And then we ended up going and getting Chinese food for lunch. And it was just so nice. It was just such a wonderful day. And we went and we sat on a bench in a botanical garden and we just were kind of like people watching and just talking about random stuff. And it was just so fun. And we just had a really good day. And I was like, you know what? Like, I said, I really like that we were like acting like old people today. Like we were just sitting on a bench, just talking and watching everyone go by. So that was really good. And we just had everything just went really well and we left on a good note. And so then I agreed that I would go out with him on Sunday. And so he planned a really nice date. So we went to Cabrillo National Monument, and he wanted to do a picnic. And so he's like, I want to do a little picnic, and we can maybe go walk on some of the trails, and, we're right by the water and all that sort of thing. So I'm like, okay. So we went and we did that. So that was like a pretty great, like, good day. Like, he brought most of the food. I said I was going to bring, we made like chicken wraps, and we just sat on a bench, looked at the ocean, and made snacks. And then he brought like some of my favorite, like, healthy version chips and blueberries and mangoes. I can't eat mangoes because they hurt my stomach, but he brought me some other options. So that was really good. And it was really good until I started getting cranky. And I think the reason why I was cranky was because there was a lot of people around who were not understanding that we were having a moment. And there's like a lot of like tourists and people who were just walking in front of like our view and taking photos. So that was irritating. We were in the sun. So I think I was getting like too much sun. I didn't have a hat on and all that sort of thing. So that wasn't really like a good move on my part. I should have like had a hat, and we went to go look for a hat for me. And I just was like, I can't fit my big old head in this small hat. And so we had that. And then what else happened? Oh, and then, so we were going to get up and start heading to go for a walk. We went on a little walk, and I was like, you know what? I'm kind of hot, and maybe we can go up to the top part and we can walk around and maybe go look at the lighthouse. And he was like, yeah, let's go do that. So we ended up going and walking back to his car, and we're packing up everything. And then he's like looking around for a cell phone, and he couldn't find his cell phone. And I was like, oh no. And he's like, I was like, you just had your phone, because we stopped and we took a picture by the water, but we took the picture with my phone. So I was just like, okay, well, I remember you took it out and we took a photo, and we just went straight to the car after that. So I was like, okay. I said, well, maybe, I was like, do you think you might have put it in one of the bags that you're carrying, things like your backpack? So he went through his whole backpack and checked around and couldn't find it. So he was starting to panic a little bit. And then he kind of just resigned himself, like, well, then fine, I guess I'm gonna have to get another phone and go through the whole thing. And I said, you know what? Let's just go look, because I just feel like that was going to ruin our day if we didn't like find his phone. So I was like, let's go back and just walk around and go look. And I said, if we find one of the rangers, because I'm always about, if you're in trouble or if you lost something, look for a ranger. They always know what's going on in the park. They know if somebody loses something, if your kid's lost, they all communicate, they all know. So we went walking, we retraced our steps, we didn't find anything. And there was a volunteer ranger that was walking up, and I said, I'm going to ask her. She has to know. I said, because people, when they come to national parks, it's very rare that people will just jack your stuff unless they're like targeting parking lots, right? So I was like, I have faith in the national park system, and I know somebody found it and they went and gave it to ranger. And so we walked up to her, and I just was like, excuse me. And I said, we are missing his cell phone and we can't find it. And she goes, oh, we found it. And we took it up to the visitor center, and that's where you can pick it up. So it worked out perfectly. And of course, my faith in the national park system was again validated. And we went up and was able to get his phone back. And so they saved the day and saved the rest of our date, because if we didn't find it, like, I think he was about, done with that. So we were able to get together, and then the park, which I didn't realize, was that the National Monument actually closes. They actually close the park, which is different from national parks. National parks are open 365, 7 days a week. So they're 24/7, right? So they're always open. I wasn't used to that. And I was like, oh shoot, I guess they're closing, and they were announcing all of that. So we went and we sat down for a little bit. And then, we started having a conversation about a certain subject that we've been talking about. And for me personally, I was kind of feeling like, I just feel like you're pushing this question. And I'm like, I don't know why. So I was like a little annoyed. I was already annoyed, period. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go. So we were in separate cars, and they were closing the park. And I said, do you want to keep hanging out, or do you want to just end our date here and then we'll just regroup next weekend? And he was like, no, I think we should still hang out. And I have one more place to take, like, we could go. So we were in Point Loma. And so when I learned on a date was that he used to live in Point Loma. So he knew there was another park we could go to. So we went to a park and we spent some quality time there, and it had a really great view of San Diego Bay, and it was like really nice. So we had a lot of special time together, and we were able to kind of resalvage the date and left on a really positive note. And so we're trying to figure out our schedules. So the next 2 weeks, so I'm going to Vegas to see the Backstreet Boys. Backstreet's back. All right. So I'm going to go see them. I broke down, I bought tickets. I've just been seeing everyone's TikToks of how much like their residency is just amazing. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to go. And so I will be driving out Saturday morning, going to their show. I think I need to be there by 4:30 and the show doesn't start until like 8 or 8:30, and just to get a spot on the floor. So I'm on the floor and it's general admission. And so basically if you arrive early and you get yourself situated, you can be like right up in the front. So my goal is to be as close to the front as I can get so I can have the full experience. And so I'm going to go to Vegas. I found a hotel room that only cost me $48 at a pretty decent hotel. And I have a rental car. And then I'm going to just go to the show, go back to the hotel, sleep, check out around 6:30. And then I have to have the car back by noon. So my goal is to get back, drop the car back around 11:30. And then we're trying to schedule a date for Sunday. And then the following weekend, he's going to be going to Joshua Tree with one of his friends. And so he's going to be gone the following Saturday. And so we're trying to coordinate a date for the following Sunday and Labor Day that we're hoping to do something if everything continues on its path. So we're working on it. We're doing what we can to communicate. And we made some compromises with like communication, especially during the week and what he needs to do for work and focus and things like that. So I think we're going to test it out this week. So we're basically not going to like kind of message each other throughout our work days and, you know, try to shuffle to multitask. He's not a multitasker. So we're, you know, I basically told him, you can text me in the morning and just tell me. I said, I literally told him this. I said, just text me in the morning and say good morning. And that at least lets me know that you're still interested. And then I'm good with that. I'll say good morning to you so you know that I'm still on board. And then that gives us both reassurance. And that also goes back, we started talking about one of the first questions I asked him was, what is your love language and what is your attachment style? So if you don't know about attachment styles, look that up. And so I said, well, this is my attachment style in relationships. And I said, do you know yours? And he told me his, which is similar to mine. And so I was like, okay, so I know in my position, this is what I need. I need reassurance. And basically to know that that person is still with you on that path, that they still like you, that you're doing a good job. So I was like, okay, well, you know, and I said, would this work? And he said, yes, like that's exactly what I need. So we're working on that, trying to understand what we need. So work days, we're like, okay, morning, say good morning. And then he can focus on work. I can focus on my work. And then when he has his other meetings, he has other community meetings and stuff that he goes to, then he can focus on that. And he has some other self work that he's doing, and he can just focus on those things and like not have to feel like he has to like try to keep me happy by messaging me all day. So we're working on that, and I think that's going to work. It just seemed to make him feel like breathe a sigh of relief. So we'll see if that works, and hopefully we have a fun weekend. I really like the picnic. He ended up bringing me flowers too, which was really nice. So I have like nice roses in my house. I haven't well, I take it back. I did get flowers from the last guy I dated, but I was kind of like annoyed with him. And I was like, I didn't even keep the flowers. I was like, why is he giving me flowers for? Like, I don't understand. And anyway, but I kept his flowers. And yeah, so that's my update. So far we had a bump in the road, but I really, really like that we were able to talk it out and that I gave it another chance. And so we'll see what happens from here. So anyway, that's my update, and I will definitely next week. It's gonna be a great video. Make sure you guys tune in next week because I'll have all my Backstreet Boys stuff. I'm gonna wear all white because I guess that's what they're asking people to do, is wear all white. And I think I'm even paint my nails white, and I'm coming and gonna have my Backstreet Boys moment, and then come back and hopefully have like a really nice fun date. And yeah, so anyways, make sure you guys tune in next week, like and subscribe, and I will see you in our next video.